Hi everyone. So I have been talking on my channel for quite some time about, for months, ever since I started, about organisations that are supposedly NGOs, non-governmental organisations. They may work for the government, they may do stuff that for the government, but they're detached from the government and they're not really anything to do with the government. And that is the what we're led to believe. And another of these organisations has come to the fore in the last week. Now, I did a video a while ago. When I dropped this video, I'll leave a link to it up there on the organisations, some of the other organisations that are like this, such as the Atlantic Council, such as DFR Labs, such as the National Endowment for Democracy, such as, I think there was one called the United Initiative of America or something like that as well. There are many of them. Basically what they are is propaganda constructs, and one has been unearthed in the last week on the UK side, and it was down to this just great article by the Daily Record, which everybody is citing. Secret Scottish-based office-led InfoWars attack on Labour and Jeremy Corbyn. Okay, this is going to be big. Explosive leaked documents passed to the Sunday Mail reveal the organisation's integrity initiative is funded with £2 million of Foreign Office cash and run by military intelligence specialists. Again, if I mess up any words, it's because of my tooth. I do apologise. There's not much I can really bloody do about it. A secret UK government-funded InfoWars unit based in Scotland, nothing to do with Alex Jones, based in Scotland, sent out social media posts attacking Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party. On the surface, the cryptically named Institute for Statecraft is a small charity operating from an old Victorian mill in Fife, but explosive leaked documents passed to the Sunday Mail revealed the organisation's integrity initiative is funded with £2 million of Foreign Office cash run by a military intelligence specialist. The think tank is supposed to counter Russian online propaganda by forming clusters of friendly journalists and key influencers throughout Europe who use social media to hit back against disinformation. So this is not dissimilar to DFR Labs. DFR Labs are a similar organisation in they are subsidiary of the Atlantic Council. The Atlantic Council, who is funded by the UK government, Foreign Office, the US government, US Army, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, NATO, you know, all the bad people you can think of in the world. They're all funding Atlantic Council. They fund DFR Labs. Now, DFR Labs were meant to identify Russian bots online. They outed Citizen Halo as a bot. They outed Ian56 as a bot, and they outed Partisan Girl as a bot. All three are obviously people. One of them was actually verified on Twitter, so she was a verified real person, and they got that totally wrong. Now, it was all obviously every account that was critical of Western government. That's all it was. Everybody gets lumped in, and everybody gets lumped in with it's a Russian bot. It's not a Russian bot. It's just a person who's pissed off at the US government and the UK government for doing all this horrible shit around the world. And you know what? I'm fucking one of them. I'm no different. But our investigation has found worrying evidence that the shadowy programme's official Twitter account has been used to attack Corbyn, the Labour Party and their officials. One tweet quotes a newspaper article calling Corbyn a useful idiot. I'll come on to that in a bit. A message from the UK government-funded organisation promotes an article that states, unlike Galloway, talking about George Galloway, Corbyn does not scream conspiracy, he implies it. While another added, it's time for the Corbyn left to confront a Putin problem. I'll get to those in a bit. It says here that it is not just the Labour leader who has been on the receiving end of online attacks. His strategy and communications director, Seamus Milne, was also targeted. The Integrity Initiative, who's based at Gateside Mill near Achtermukti, retweeted a newspaper report that said Milne is not a spy, that would be beneath him. But what he has done, wittingly or unwittingly, is work with a Kremlin agenda. So you can see this is obviously, attacking Corbyn or attacking anybody to do with Labour and painting them as some sort of Russian agent or Russian Kremlin puppet. The article continues. Another retweet promoted a journalist who said, just as he supports the Russian bombardment of Syria, Seamus Milne supported the Russian slaughter of Afghanistan, which resulted in more than 1 million deaths. The Integrity Initiative has been accused of supporting Ukrainian politicians who oppose Putin, even when they also have suspected far-right links. This is something that's similar with the other organisations that I mentioned, the Atlantic Council, yada yada. Oh, that one hurt. Further leaked documents appear to show a Twitter campaign that resulted in a Spanish politician believed to be friendly to the Kremlin being denied a job. I've looked into that. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. He was a socialist in Spain. And they basically, this cluster in Spain got together and spread a load of information about him, that he was some sort of, he was friendly to the Kremlin, friendly to Putin. And yeah, he didn't get it. So it works, what these people are doing. The papers detail how the Integrity Initiative alerted key influencers around Europe who launched an online campaign against the politician. In the wake of leaks, which also detail government grant applications, the Foreign Office have been forced to confirm they provided massive funding to the Integrity Initiative. So they had 300,000 the year before last, and nearly 2 million so far. Last financial year they had almost 300,000 and almost £2 million this year. Almost £2 million. So it's 2.3 almost million pounds. I wonder how many homeless people could that have housed? How many how many teachers or nurses could that have trained? I always wonder that thing whenever I see governmental waste, and with this Tory government I see it a lot. Politicians and academics have reacted with fury to news. A covert government-funded unit has been attacking the official opposition in Parliament. So it's got there some reactions from Labour, some reactions from other people. David Miller, a professor of political sociology in the School for Policy Studies at the University of Bristol, added, "It's extraordinary that the Foreign Office would be funding a Scottish charity to counter Russian propaganda, which ends up attacking Her Majesty's opposition and soft-peddling far-right politicians in Ukraine." Okay, what I will say to David Miller, who is professor of political sociology, you are correct that they are doing that, but it's not extraordinary. The more I look at it, it's standard practice for them, I'm afraid. You're wrong there. Article continues. The senior manager of the Integrity Initiative appears to be Chris Donnelly. A website biography states he is a graduate of Manchester University and reserve officer in the British Army, who previously headed the British Army's Soviet Studies. Documents past the Sunday Mail suggested he was appointed an honorary colonel the year Integrity Initiative was formed. Papers we have viewed also suggest senior operative Dan Lafayette was an SAS soldier. After contacting the Integrity Initiative through its website to ask about the Labour attacks, we received a call from spokesman Stephen Dalziel. Come to him in a bit as well. He said, "I'm not aware of that. I'm not the one who controls the Twitter account. If it was criticism of one of our politicians, then that shouldn't be on there." When asked about the military background of the Integrity Initiative employees, Dalziel denied any Secret Service involvement. Denied any Secret Service involvement. Remember that when I come to the Chris Williams tweet in a bit. He added, Chris Donnelly was in the TA for many years. Dan Lafayette, who was a Scot, that's why it is registered in Scotland, was many years ago in the army. Previous online biographies about Dalziel suggest he spent a year in the British Army in 1981. Leaked documents show a funding application to the Foreign Office that details the unit's work. So this is an organisation, by the look of it, that is full of ex-spooks and ex-army people. Further papers reveal a unit in Lithuania which received overseas funding to support a new hub cluster creation and to educate cluster leaders and key people in Vilnius in info-war techniques. This is a strategy that is employed by Bellingcat. This is another one of those organisations that is funded by the government and is meant to be an NGO, but it's not. It's not an NGO at all. If anything, Bellingcat are anti-truth, if you ask me. The Foreign Office did not respond to a request for comment. Now, I wanted to read the whole article, and there's a reason I wanted to read it, because this is bigger than the Brexit fiasco. It really is. This is huge. This is just a sample of some of the tweets that they sent out. Now, I'm just going to have to switch over to the other one here. This is just a sample of the tweets that they sent out there. You can see there the second one at the bottom. It says Mike Chernovich doesn't always post any anti-vaxxer crap, but when he does, it's after retweeting the pseudo-left and totally legit Assad apologist war Nazi guy. Mike Chernovich. Mike Chernovich. Oh, I messed up here. Just bear me a second. See? Sorry about that. I messed up. So this is some more examples of the tweets. Anders Aslan there, so they've retweeted Anders Aslan, who's saying basically anything anti-Russian. They retweet, and then you can see there they've retweeted somebody who was attacking the journalist Rania Khalek. Rania Khalek. Put it this way: the people at the Guardian, who work at the Guardian, aren't fit to lick Rania Khalek's boots. She's an amazing journalist, and they're attacking her. Why? Because she tells the truth. And this is a running theme that you're going to see. You've already seen that they attacked George Galloway. You can see there they're retweeting anything that Michael McFaul says. Michael McFaul is somebody I laugh at on this channel all the time. I laugh at. The guy's pathetic. He's pathetic. And they're retweeting him as if he's wonderful. Retweeting anybody pro-Ukraine, anti-Russia, obviously. And as you can see here, excuse me, just as he supports the Russian bombardment of Syria, Seamus Milne supported the Russian slaughter of Afghanistan, which resulted in over 1 million deaths. So this is spreading disinformation, is what it is. That's exactly what they're there. They're not there to dispel disinformation. They're there to actually spread it. That's what the aim of this group is. And you can see there, they've actually tweeted there. They've made a tweet. That's not a retweet, that's a tweet. Mr. Corbyn was a useful idiot in the phrase acrophily, I can never pronounce it because of my tooth, attributed to Lenin. His open, visceral anti-Westernism helped the Kremlin cause, as surely if he had been secretly peddling Westminster tittle-tattle for money. That, remember, comes from a organisation that is funded by the government, are supposed to be neutral, and that's what they're saying. Shouldn't be the case. And here's another couple of the tweets that I found. Just let's switch back to the same one, and you can see here at the bottom there, unlike Galloway, Corbyn does not scream conspiracy. He implies it. That's a tweet that's obviously been cancelled or they've been blocked. This is another, obviously, it's an obvious propaganda construct, is what it is. And just to ram my point home, that it's an obvious propaganda construct, here's Carol Codswallop. That's not my words, that's the words of Andrew Neil. Carol Codswalder of The Guardian, the arse gravy of a newspaper that is The Guardian. She did a thread on this to, obviously, this is The Guardian, so, somebody's attacked somebody in the government. There's spies, somebody's attacked an organisation that's full of ex-spies and ex-military. Can pretty much be assured that The Guardian are going to come out on the side of them, because that's basically what The Guardian is now. The Guardian is just an extension of GCHQ, in my opinion. That's it. A few journalists aside. It's just an extension of GCHQ. And I want to talk about this tweet that she sent out, because you just know, tell us in the chat who she's going to blame. It's coming. Are you ready? A short thread that is going to unleash the dogs of war. Hi, here I am, dog of war, ready for action. But anyway, these are the tweets that led to today's Daily Record, and she obviously puts out a selection of the tweets. She says the Daily Record reported that the Integrity Initiative set up to counter Russian disinformation was using FCO funds to attack Labour. That story rightly drew an immediate response from Emily Thornberry and John McDonnell calling for an immediate inquiry. So she's doing the background here. She's right so far. The source of that Daily Record story appears to be documents that were that were hacked by the Russian state. The source of the Daily Record story appears to be the documents the Integrity Initiative reported were hacked by the Russian state, i.e. the same methodology used in the US prior to the presidential election. She got no proof of that, no proof whatsoever. She's got absolutely no proof, even now, 2 years later, over 2 years later, that what was released via WikiLeaks was hacked at all. She's got no proof of any of it. Yet, hey, I'm a journalist for The Guardian. Gotta stick up for my GCHQ, folks. Tally-ho, chaps. Correction, hacked documents. Oh, she's made a correction. Oh, sorry, hacked documents, yes. She's made a point of saying, no, these documents were hacked. Amplified by the Russian state. So the story boils down to 4 ill-advised retweets of opinion pieces that suggest Labour is inadvertently assisting Russian government. So let's examine that, shall we? Now she goes on there to give you some examples there where they've retweeted and said stuff that's actually not pro, that's actually anti-conservative as well. Nowhere near the level of intensity that was aimed at obviously Jeremy Corbyn and Labour with those tweets. But obviously she's making a comparison, and obviously I've just given you a small selection. There are hundreds of them, you know. But she goes on in this, and I'm not going to show it all. You can see where this is going to. I'm not going to spend too much time on The Guardian in future, to be honest. And in fact, if ever I do use The Guardian as a source in future, I am going to blank out the rest of The Guardian's name and just put GCHQ in their letterheading, just so everybody knows exactly who is writing that piece of shit that I'm talking about. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that. Steve Howell says this. Now, Steve Howell, I believe, ran, he was something to do with Jeremy Corbyn's campaign in 2017. He's his campaign manager or something like that. And he said, as funding for these black ops started 2 years ago, Electoral Communications UK should investigate to see if public money was used in breach of electoral rules. A rerun of the 27 general election may be necessary. I'm sure Carol Cadwalla, People's Vote, will back me. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring that up, because he was quoting there on him saying it was no conspiracy theory. First of all, if you had said or you'd suggested this a week ago, if you had suggested that they were doing this a week ago without the truth, you would be smeared as a conspiracy theorist and a lunatic, for a start. And second of all, Integrity Initiative was started in 2015. What happened in 2015? Remind me. In Scotland, where Integrity Initiative... Why is Integrity Initiative set up in Scotland? What happened in 2015? People are going to be digging and finding stuff, I'm sure, on the independence vote in Scotland. George Galloway obviously said something about it. He said, here is the news. Mainstream media has fought a 3-year battle to convince Britain Corbyn was a terrorist, a Russian spy, or both. They did so with the full cooperation, if not at the instigation, of the deep state. It is now revealed that some of them work for or with the deep state. News over. And I really wanted to point that out because that's how big this is. However big the and I'm sure that the media are not making a big deal about this. I know the BBC have finally reported it today, and other outlets have, but they're not going to make this a big deal. They're going to tone it down as much as possible. Imagine if it was the other way and it was a Russian thing. Can you imagine if we found out that Russia was actually doing this? Can you imagine if we found out that Russian Foreign Office money had gone to that place in Fife and they were spreading this stuff about Corbyn and Labour? Can you imagine what would happen? Just saying. And Chris Williamson, as before I came on air, actually said this. No, actually, I think this was yesterday. He said I asked Alan Duncan to disclose the nature and purpose of his department's funding of the Integrity Initiative. He refused, citing national security. This simply isn't good enough. There can be no excuse for shady political spin using undermining our democracy. First of all, if this organisation is doing nothing terrible and it's all above board, why cite national security? And if it's why cite national security? And also, didn't the government just last week cite national security as the reason that the legal advice for the Brexit draft agreement shouldn't be published in full? They said no, it's it's national security is the reason why. It turns out there's stuff in there that made the government look absolutely fucking terrible. That's the truth. That's what national security to me is code for. So whenever somebody says national security, like especially Alan Duncan, the arsehole that he is, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to be looking into that, and you can bet my ass I'm going to be doing that over the coming days. Now, obviously, I've alluded to this because this is Max Blumenthal's blog, the website he writes for, one of them, and this is, a few months ago. This is back in October, and he was talking about how this was when the Facebook were coming down on and banning accounts left, right, and centre. And they've said here, this is the Facebook censorship of alternative media, just the beginning, says top neocon insider. And anybody who's watched my channel for any period of time knows I've been talking about this all for a long time. I've been saying this is building up and building. Something is going on. They're doing something. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only independent analyst, if you like, that is starting to look and think, what the is going on? You'll be no doubt unsurprised to hear that one of the things I found out about the Integrity Initiative is a contributor for them is Ben Nimmo. Ben Nimmo works for DFR Labs, who is the Atlantic Council. So there's a connection there, and I'm absolutely positive that the more people dig and the more I dig, I'm going to be finding more connections between these shady non-governmental organisations. Craig Murray brilliantly said this. Dan Cazzetta, who I mentioned earlier, the source of the expert articles and interviews on why the Novichok was so selectively lethal, was paid by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office via the Integrity Initiative. That connects, Gripples. This is huge. Every journalist in the country should be on this. Every journalist in the country should be on this and digging up shit, not trying to defend it like Carol Codswallop. We're paid by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office via the Integrity Initiative. He now denies he ever worked for US intelligence when his byline for those very articles gave us that as his credentials. So you can see here, this is something that is not just huge and it's not just huge, but it's not an isolated incident. This is just another in a long line of organisations that have sprung up over the last 5 or 6 years and that are spreading governmental disinformation, Western governmental disinformation online, and silencing any voices like mine who speak out against it. I'll give you one guess, bearing all that in mind and evaluating all that information. I'll give you one guess as to whether this video will be monetized or not. They are coming after us, and they are doing it with organisations like the Atlantic Council and the Integrity Initiative. And we have to speak up against it. We have to. We absolutely cannot let them do this. This is Orwellian, is what it is. It's Orwellian. We are, 1984 was not an instruction manual. It was a dystopian novel. And we need to stop these sorts of organisations spreading, this disinformation around and pointing fingers at people like Ian 56 and Syrian Girl and Citizen Halo, that grandmother in Finland, who would just care. That's all they do. They just care. They can see the evil in the world and they want to speak out in one voice and try and stop it. And these organisations are trying to stop that happening. What sort of organisation does that? The Ministry for Truth. That's the sort of organisation that does that. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and click the bell below so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. Independent voices like mine, I'm sure you're aware by now, are being censored across all social media platforms, so please like and comment on the videos. That really does help the channel out, and share the videos wherever you can to grow the audience. If you can, please support me on Patreon. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. I cannot do this without your help. I rely on your donations. Thanks very much for your support. It really is appreciated. Until next time, peace and take care.